Welcome to a little bit of Calm and Crazy. My name is Jennifer, and today I'm excited to share with you some new Christmas DIYs. Whether you are looking for home decor for yourself or some easy handmade gift ideas for friends and family, these Dollar Tree DIYs are so easy to put together, and I use my Cricut in order to take them up a level, and I want to thank Cricut for sponsoring today's video. If you see something here that you like or you learn something new, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future videos. Don't forget to check out the description box for all the links, and let's get into today's projects. For this project, I am using some of the wood square planks that you can get from Dollar Tree, 6 in a pack, as well as the larger popsicle sticks. To start off with, I do need to trim down the popsicle sticks. So I take one of the wood planks and 2 of the popsicle sticks. I'm creating a little mini frame. I use a pencil to mark off the length that I need to trim off and my miter shears in order to trim those down. These are fantastic. They cut through smaller wood pieces so easily. After that, I go ahead and I paint the plank as well as the wood sticks. I'm using Waverly's chalk paint and white for the plank and Waverly's wax and antique to give like a stain-like effect for the popsicle sticks. Now I have watered down the wax. It was on its last leg. I barely had any left, and I just added some water to the bottle. So it's very thinned out, and it does a fantastic job acting like a stain, but it dries a whole lot quicker. Once that dried, I went ahead and I used some wood glue in order to attach the popsicle sticks onto the wood plank. I wanted to make sure that they had a nice, strong adherence, and I felt like wood glue would give me the best job for that. Now the base of this sign is done, it's time to add my vinyl decal, and I was so excited about this. I have seen so many larger signs with this cute, similar image on Pinterest and other places. And that's what's so great about using the Cricut is I can see these cute signs all over the place, but create them myself. So I created this sign in Cricut Design Space. I found it helpful when I'm working with vinyl to rub both the front and the back before removing it, and then flipping it over and removing the backing when it's face down. Then I go ahead and I lay it down where I want it, press it with my fingers, and then I take my scraper in order to rub it into place. Once I have it scraped, and I try to make sure that I've scraped all the vinyl down to make sure it's nice and adhere before I go to remove the transfer tape. I go as carefully as I can, especially on smaller letters like you can see with Christmas tree. Those are very delicate letters, but you'll see that when I get to trees that I have a little bit of an issue and my T is coming up, so I just lay it right back down, scrape it again, make sure that T is stuck, start going again. Oh wait, I'm having more issues. I lay it back down, I scrape it again. So just take your time so that you don't have any issues and you're not ripping your letters or your words or your images as you go. One more thing I would suggest is if you had problems like I did, I go back with my scraper afterwards very gently and just make sure that everything's adhered once I have that transfer tape off. For this smaller sign, again, I went ahead and I measured off the popsicle sticks so I knew where to cut them, took my miter shears again. I always cover up the top because I do know that things can fly, so it's just a protective thing that I do. It is not necessary. My 8-year-old can use these miter shears just so you know how easy they are to use. I am using the antique wax from Waverly in order to do like a stain on this. Again, I have watered down that wax, and I'm using Waverly's chalk paint and white for the popsicle sticks. Once everything dried, I am going in with wood glue in order to attach the popsicle sticks onto the top and the bottom of the wood plank to create the frame. White on white is not doing this any favors, but again, I do the same thing where I add the transfer tape on top, I rub the top, I rub it on the bottom, and then I peel it with it upside down in order to get it to stay onto the transfer tape. And then I apply it onto the wood plank by scraping it off and then peeling that transfer tape off. Now I'm going to have all of my images in Design Space linked for you down below if you are interested in any of these. This time I wanted to go a little bit brighter and bolder, so I am using Waverly's chalk paint in crimson, such a bright Christmassy red in order to paint the wood plank, and again with Waverly's chalk paint in white to paint the popsicle sticks. Once that all dried, I used some wood glue in order to attach the popsicle sticks to the plank to frame that out. Then I really was going in for just an adorable little sign for this one, and I love that gingerbread is just so on trend for this year. It's just cute and fun, and I couldn't resist making a little gingerbread sign. But before I added my decal, I wanted to distress this sign, so I went in with actually a 60 grit sandpaper and distressed the edges really pretty well. I wanted to bring back that red paint, expose that wood, and then I took it over the center of the red as well to soften up that red and show a little bit of the wood going through. And I did the same thing around the popsicle sticks, really taking along the edges so that I could expose the wood on the edges, softening up those edges. I just really like that distressed wood, and then I felt like it really brought that look together once I added that decal. So once I got the sign distressed, I got my decal all ready and put onto the little mini wood sign. I love the way that this looks. I love how the white pops onto the red. I'm actually considering making a larger sign version of this. Now the only problem is deciding what size I want it to be. I can't decide. So if you have any recommendations, let me know that in the comments down below. With this cute little mini size, these are great for tier trays, Christmas tree ornaments, or you can even use them in little vignettes. I would love to know of the three, which is your favorite. For this project, I'm using this large ornament from Dollar Tree, and then I have this scrapbook paper that comes from Cricut. This is from their Nordic collection. Isn't it beautiful? So to start off with, I measure out my ornament so I know exactly what size I need, and then I go into Cricut Design Space and I go onto the left hand side and I look at where it says shapes. I choose a circle, and then I make that circle the exact same size that I measured out, and it was roughly just a little bit larger than 10 inches. So once I have the circle to the size that I need, I'm going to go into images and I'm going to type in Christmas trees. I'm going to find the Christmas tree that I want. I'm going to select that. Now using the circle, I go ahead and I size the tree to the size that I want and make it as big as I want, and then I place it where I want it to be in the circle. Once I get it to the place that I want, I highlight the tree and the circle together, and on the bottom right corner, you'll see where it says slice. When I hit that, that is how I cut that tree out of that circle and create the image that I am wanting for this design. Today I am using my Cricut Explore Air 2 to do all of these projects. I remember when I got my first Cricut machine. It was 11 years ago. My husband surprised me after my daughter was born and got it for me as a push gift. And it was one of the best gifts I ever received, and I have never looked back. I just love that it can cut so many different materials. Over 100. I can work offline or online. I can't tell you the number of times I've actually worked on my iPad in the car waiting on my kids, like in carpool lane. I can also work wirelessly or with the USB. I work on my iPad and my computer. It's just such a good machine. Before I get to apply my paper, I do need to prep the ornament. So first I gotta pop that top off, and I wanna make sure I keep it intact. So I'm using a paint scraper in order to get underneath it and to pop it off. These are at Dollar Tree and they are a fantastic tool to have. Once I've done that, I'm going in and I am sanding the front of this smooth. You could use the back of it instead if you choose to. I wanted to use the front, so I just sanded any of the glittery areas until it was nice and smooth, and then I painted it with some white paint. I'm using Waverly's chalk paint in white. It did take me 3 coats in the areas that were going to be exposed to cover up any of the coloring that were originally on the ornament. After the paint was completely dried, now I'm using some Mod Podge and I'm laying it over the entire circle part of the ornament in just a thin coat. Then I laid the paper on top of it and smoothed that out. I'm actually using my Cricut tool to really make sure that I get those little points of the tree flattened down. Cricut tools can be used more than just for, weeding something. They can come in handy for multiple things. You just really want to make sure that your paper has contact all the way around, especially on the corners so that those areas don't pop up. I used some hot glue in order to attach the ornament topper back onto the ornament. And then I had some ribbon in my stash. I tied it into a bow and I hot glued that to the top to finish this ornament off. I think it turned out so beautiful. It's just classic and simple yet elegant. But remember, I couldn't let the little Christmas tree go to waste, and I found this light bulb ornament at Dollar Tree, and I love the shape of it. I thought it was really beautiful. So to start off with, I went in with some sandpaper to sand just the center of it to get any of the glitter off and the rough spots. I wanted to leave the glitter on the top as well as the edges because I felt like it actually really framed out the sign really well. So once I had that center all cleared off, I went in with Waverly's chalk paint and ink. It's a beautiful dark rich black, and I painted that center, and it took me about 2 coats to get to the coverage that I needed. Once that dried, I went in with Mod Podge, and I used Mod Podge on the entire thing. The Mod Podge sealed in that glitter so I wouldn't get glitter everywhere, but it also helped hold that Christmas tree in the center where I want it, and I went in with my Cricut tool in order to help place down those edges so that I made sure that it was nice and stuck on the way that I wanted it. I absolutely love the way that this turned out. I think it is beautiful, it's elegant, it's gorgeous, and it was so simple to do. Here you're getting 2 projects in one. I have these adorable buffalo check placemats from Dollar Tree, but I wanted to take them up a notch and use some of Cricut's iron-on vinyl. I love this stuff. It's so much fun to play with. Something to note about iron-on vinyl is that the vinyl itself is kind of rubbery, but the backing is what is sticky. So when you're pulling it off, it's super easy to just kind of pull it off. It'll just kind of pull back, and you don't have to worry about it like falling back and sticking to itself like you would with traditional vinyl. You also see that my wording is mirrored or backwards, and that is because with iron-on you want to make sure that you do that so that when you go to put it on whatever you're putting it on, it will be the correct way. Once I have the Merry and Bright all weeded and ready to go, I'm using the Cricut's Easy Press 2 in order to attach it to the placemat. You can use an iron, but let me tell you, using the Easy Press 2 is such a game changer because I can set the exact temperature that I want, and it has a timer on it. All the information you need is on Cricut's website to tell you if you put in the fabric or the material that you're using and the vinyl that you are using, it will let you know exactly what you need. So for this fabric, it tells me that I need to set it at 315 for 30 seconds. And then because my Easy Press doesn't cover everything, I go for 30 seconds on one side, 30 seconds on the other, and then I can remove the backing. And isn't that one of the most satisfying things ever? I absolutely love the way that this looks. For the second placemat, I chose to go with 3 trees, and then I just repeated the same process. Now, Cricut does tell you to go ahead and preheat your material for about 5 seconds. Part of the reason is to remove any of the moisture that might be in that material, so that is what I'm doing here. And then I go ahead and I do my 30 seconds on one side and 30 seconds on the other side. Let it completely cool, and then I remove the backing from the vinyl for that oh so satisfying reveal. Now you could just leave it here and leave them as placemats, but I decided to go ahead and get out my seam ripper, and I just opened up the seam at the bottom just a few inches. Now it is kind of like a double seam, so you really want to make sure that you get in there very carefully. Opened it up a couple of inches and then took some polyfill, filled it up, and then I chose to go in with some fabric hot glue in order to close it up, but of course you could sew it closed again if you want to, whatever your preference is. I definitely am in the camp of you cannot have too many pillows, and I'm excited to add these to my stash. So I did the exact same thing with the 3 tree pillow. I took my seam ripper to it, opened it up, filled it with some polyfill, and then used the hot glue or the fabric hot glue in order to seal off where I opened it. And now I have 2 darling new Christmas pillows to add to my stash, and I love them. For the next project, I'm using these wood rounds. You can pick these up at like Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, in so many different places. They are a fantastic little gem to use for crafting. I'm also using some more of Cricut's iron-on vinyl. This time I have the pattern one. So when you're using the pattern, make sure the pattern is flipped upside down when you go to cut, and then again, make sure you mirror your image before you cut. So I'm using my Easy Press 2 in order to get the iron-on vinyl on, and again, this is why I love this, because I need it to be at 280 degrees, and I can see that with this machine. All of that is on Cricut.com. Again, you just put in what you need and it'll tell you what you need. So super simple. Again, I did exactly what I had done earlier where I took a circle and I sliced out the tree, and this time I'm taking that tree and I'm very carefully peeling it apart because I want to use this tree on one of the wood rounds and then the circle with the tree on the other wood round. Because the tree didn't have any backing, I went ahead and cut a little piece of backing from a previous project, and this is because the backing is a little bit tacky and will allow that tree to stay in position when I go to iron it on. So just like you do with fabric, you're going to put your heat press on for 5 seconds to wick away any moisture, and then This calls for 30 seconds to adhere the vinyl to the wood. When you do remove it, you do want to make sure that you allow the vinyl to completely cool down before you pull it away. For added measure, I like to go back in one more time with a heat press just to really make sure that vinyl is really adhered, just for about 5 or 10 more seconds. I did the exact same thing with the other patterned image and wood slice, and this created 2 beautiful little wooden coasters. I love how these 2 look, but I wanted 2 more to go along with them. So here I have Cuddles, Cocoa, and Cookies, and it's all about hot chocolate and Christmas. So how I created this was I went into Cricut's design space, and I first went into shapes. I chose a circle, made sure it was the size I needed for those wood rounds so that I could gauge the size of the image that I was working with. What's great about Cricut Design Space is you can either design your own image that you want in there, or you can choose one of their images, and that is what I did. I went into images, I typed in hot chocolate, and then I scrolled through all of their different choices until I found a couple that I really liked. And you can look at a couple at the same time. So you just click on whatever you want, and then you go to the bottom and hit insert, and it'll take you back to the canvas, and then you can size it according to the size that you need. Like, Design Space is just made for somebody that's like me, that is not techie. I just think it is so much fun to have 4 unique ideas for these coasters. Even though they are different, they coordinate together, and what a great gift these would make for somebody. I absolutely love them individually, and I more than ever love them all together. Super cute, fun, and definitely a great gift idea. I have wanted a Santa mailbox for years, and I'm finally getting around to putting one together that fits my decor. So using this Dollar Tree mailbox, I took it outside and I spray painted it with some white spray paint, covering both the outside and the inside. I really wanted to go for just that red and white simple theme, and I'm using some of Cricut's pattern vinyl, and as I get closer you'll be able to see some of that deeper and darker red of that pattern vinyl, and it just really adds a little bit more depth and dimension to the wording and to the images. So on both sides I'm doing it North Pole with that reindeer, making sure that the reindeer face the same direction, and so I actually had to create 2 different images for that. And then on the very front is where I'm doing the letters to Santa. After I got all of the vinyl adhered, I actually was able to use the same transfer tape for all 3 of those. That's how great Cricut's transfer tape is. It can be used for multiple times before you have to use a new piece of transfer tape. So once I had all those on, I went and I grabbed a bell and I snipped off the little, I don't know what you call that, but the little top of the bell that would keep it from laying flush. I snipped that off with a pair of wire cutters. And then I took some hot glue and I glued that on the front in order to become the handle. Then I decided it needed a little bit more red, so I took Waverly's chalk paint in crimson and painted the flag of the mailbox, and that was the perfect finishing touch. I can't wait to see what letters my kids put inside the mailbox. Don't forget to check out these videos if you are looking for more Christmas inspiration or Christmas gift ideas. I want to thank Cricut again for sponsoring today's videos. I appreciate you stopping by and spending some time with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!